Miss Sophie Wright, hello.
Hi.
Hello, lovely to have you here.
Oh,
How are you?
This is brilliant. I feel like I'm in SpongeBob's brain.
And do you know what I've just realised? My mic's matching the room.
and look, this is the only bit of yellow I've got in my wardrobe, and I happen to be wearing it today.
I love it.
So,
I love it.
yeah, it's meant to be.
So, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Yes. Hello, I am Sophie from Manchester, aka I don't want to say SoWright, DJSoWright, but that is my DJ name, presenter name. So I am I do so many things. I usually go off what I've last done or what I'm currently doing on whatever the next gig is.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll say I'm a DJ, presenter, writer, and grid girl.
I love it. You're multifaceted. That's what you are.
Irons in fires.
You're a girl of many talents. And I think to have so many things in so many pies, should we say, how the heck do you handle all that?
Well, I get bored easily.
Okay, same.
So this is good for me.
Yeah.
And I feel like I go through a lot of I don't want to say phases, but I will be so passionate about something for however many years, and then when I feel I've maybe completed that or the love is starting to go from it, then I'll maybe change or something. It'll lead on to something else. So all the things I do or have done up till now have pretty much led on to the next natural step that I'm doing now.
Yeah. Even you say you leave things behind, but I think you're always doing something. You're always either DJing or you're grid girl, and
Yeah.
I think that's what I applaud, because I honestly, I don't know how you do it all,
Oh,
to be honest.
I mean, to be fair, like, because I haven't got management at the moment, so I'm doing it all myself. I'd rather, if I can, for as long as I can, do it myself. Although I do wrestle with it sometimes when I think, I've only got as many contacts as I've got.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes I think, well, if I was working with someone, then it opens me up to all their contacts. And it's that you're constantly chasing the next gig or the next booking, which does get stressful for me, I've got to admit. Like,
You're a boss girl.
Oh,
You're a boss girl through and through.
we try.
Do you have a favourite side of it? Is it DJing or the presenting or the, newly published?
Well, I know the whole book world. I mean, right now, like, first and foremost, I've always said I'm a presenter, because I was a presenter before I was a DJ when I started in radio, and that's something that I felt pretty quickly in radio when people would say, "Oh, you're a DJ," and I remember thinking, I don't know how to work a pair of decks. I'm a presenter. I talk into a mic, but I thought I want to learn how to rock it on a pair of decks. So that's what led into going to DJ school and learning how to mix. But first and foremost, it was always the presenting. That, obviously, if you read the book,
which we'll get to,
you'll know that I tried a lot of other things to reach that point. So I think presenting will always be my first love, just because I love talking, I love communicating. I'm a storyteller. I want to ask people questions. I want to be asked questions. You won't shut me up, Jess.
I love it. I'm here
You
for
won't
it.
shut me
I'm
up.
here for it. I think at the minute, do you not think DJing is like becoming this trend? Like, everyone's a flipping DJ at the minute. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And
your plasterer's a DJ. Your mortgage advisor's a DJ.
I'm on TikTok and I'm like, someone's like swiping a button and people are getting hate at the minute. They're like, you're not a real DJ.
I know. It's a very saturated market, I would say, because I've been doing it now for 13 years. And when I started, yes, there were a lot of DJs, but the female DJ thing was still a bit niche. Whereas now, literally everyone is a DJ. And to be fair, there's a lot of events where you could put me out of work and the next DJ out of work, when really you can just make a banging playlist on Spotify or let bloody AI Spotify DJ.
Just about to say what your thoughts about AI.
Ooh, I choose not to. It scares me. I think back to basics, keep it simple is always keep it human.
Obviously, you didn't just get here. You've had a interesting career path, to say the least. And I think for those who have read the book, The Nearly Girl, which I have, it was not a little holiday read, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Much.
It was like a little escape into this crazy world. I was like, some of the stories in there, so I literally couldn't believe it. I was like, is this girl for real? It's just, so, sorry, going back to the book. It goes.
Look at me book. I love
Go buy it on Amazon.
I love pastels.
It's unreal.
So it's like, and do you know what? Quite quite a lot of blokes have read it as well. A lot of my Amazon reviews are guys.
Wow.
Which surprises me, and I feel like I should do like a masculine cover edition for these blokes. I've been sent pictures of like these fat hairy men on a beach reading a book on holiday,
your
really
girly
enjoying your book, and I'm thinking, oh mate, that's doing nothing for your street cred.
So the book starts way back in school.
Yeah.
And not to dwell it too much, but girl, it was rough.
It was weird.
Oh
I mean, I always say that like my mum saved my life by taking me out of school when I was 13 and home educating me, because as we all have experienced, kids can be really cruel, and it's such formative years. You things stick, words that are said, they proper, they take a long time to get over. I think that whole sticks and stones thing isn't true, because that you can carry things, I think, for a while, and it can knock your confidence. And obviously I was at a very unconventional school, which I'm still glad I went there, because I think that was the lesser of two evils, because I would have got eaten alive at a standard comprehensive school, where I was just like doing my ice skating, doing my dancing, very shy. Actually, I was painfully shy and quiet until I got to about 14, 15 and started competing and performing more and mixing with older people. Everyone, all my teammates, they were adults, or they were like late teens, early 20s. So I think that sort of helped me, like, motor me on to being a little adult and finding my own voice. But I guess I'm still trying to find it.
You go on to tell, you say your mum takes you out of school at 13, which you say is the best thing she ever did for you.
Yeah, I know.
And you then go on to pursue your skating career, your ice skating career. But I suppose, obviously going on to that in a second, something like that, it teaches you lessons. It's like you said, you don't regret anything. It's
school of hard knocks. I think with any performing, whether you're a gymnast or you do horse riding, like any kind of competing, it just comes with that. You've got to have that grit, I guess. And in a way, I don't think I really had enough grit. I was always being shouted at by my dance teacher to like, be more cutthroat, want to kill the other girl, bring her down, you're on top of the podium, she's on the bottom. And really, I'm just not like that. Like, I loved my dancing, I loved my performing, I loved the feeling of ice skating, and I was doing it for me, and I just never really had that killer instinct, I think, which is why I retired so early and started going into coaching and stuff, because once I'd achieved like the top that I could achieve kind of nationally, I was like, well, I maybe want to earn a bit of money back from the sport now, or but as well, in this country, I think we're not very well equipped to support young people in a lot of the more quirky sports.
Non-traditional,
so, you go somewhere like America or China, and if you've got a kid that's talented or shows an interest, you've got all the support. Apart from that, you've got the facilities. Like, there was an ice rink on every corner in Canada. Like, here, we don't really have that many.
And good old Blackburn ice rink.
Exactly, they're all...
Big up Blackburn.
Yeah, they're all, like, decaying and falling apart. And, we don't have the same facilities as the, as other places. And so the only option, really, for me to continue pursuing it at the level that I was for my mum to home educate me, and which is very common within the skating world. Because obviously everyone was saying to my mum, she's going to be a social recluse, like all her peers are at school. Well, no, all my peers were my teammates at the rink, so it was great. And I was very fortunate that my mum was a head teacher and had been a head teacher and was at that time a supply teacher, so she had all the knowledge or the experience or the resources to be able to teach me at home. I mean, I'd love to say that anyone could do it, but I'm not sure. I think you would need... I know parents do it who aren't actual teachers, but I think, God, I wouldn't want that job. Remember lockdown? Everyone became an instant at-home schooler.
Oh, no. Honestly, I don't envy anyone who had children at that time.
Imagine. Gosh. I couldn't teach kids fractions.
No. First lockdown, living my best life. Second lockdown, hated it. Every single second.
I surprised myself in how much I enjoyed the lockdowns, because for the first time ever, it took the pressure off me to be getting gigs and looking busy and being proactive. It's like, we're all at home in our joggers. Like, it's okay, Sophie, to not be working and not have something cool to post on your Instagram. And I loved that feeling. I was doing yoga in my living room every day. I was on my own as well. It made me realise I can and enjoy living on my own, which I didn't really know that about myself until lockdown.
It's a bit of self-care as well. I found myself doing a lot of self-care. And then going back to real world, it was a bit of a shock to the system, wasn't it?
It was jarring. And especially like the first sort of few gigs back that I did, and it was just all a bit, and being at a racetrack, I was missing racetracks and people and
that buzzing environment.
I know. I must admit, I did miss adrenaline. Like, how can you feel adrenaline in your own living room?
In hindsight now, I said to someone the other day, I said, looking back, it's almost like it didn't happen. Like, did you see the photographs of Manchester when the streets were just empty? Did you ever see those published? It's something when, like, hopefully when we all have grandchildren, and we'll tell them and they'll be like, sorry?
Yeah, when we went into lockdown.
We couldn't cross that line. You
couldn't sit on that bench with that person.
It's bonkers.
Because I was stuck in Dubai when COVID first happened.
Oh, a shame.
But honestly, right, because people are like, oh, nice. I was fortunate enough to be staying with my cousin at the time because I'd been offered a job DJing out there for a big hotel chain. And so I'd gone out there, I'd done a gig, and I think I'd had the interview, and they said, oh, it's not going to start till September because there's this COVID thing flying about, so we're not sure, let that blow over a couple of weeks, and then your role would start. So I was staying with my cousin thinking about, relocating and starting to look at online at apartments and thinking, I'd have to hire a car and how my life would look. But for me, I'd spent so much time in LA in the run up to that, and LA, Hollywood, or Hollyweird as they call it, it's full of crazy people, artistic people. Be you, wear what you want, dye your dog pink,
I love it.
And I'd come from that to then being in this very strict, and nature. I love walking through my fields and greenery, and I was really craving and missing nature when I was out there. And so for me, it didn't really feed my soul.
And your job obviously must take you to a lot of places. Yeah, you do a lot of traveling. Is there a favourite place that you've been to or that you love going to?
I mean, I'm a California girl. I am. When I quit radio in 2019, I left my crazy fiance and my radio show and packed myself off to Hollywood for like 10 months and lived off my life savings.
Is this in the second book?
That's going to be in the third book.
Oh, okay, we'll get there.
Yeah, we've got the 20s to get through yet, and they're a bloody minefield.
In the book, you go from homeschool, ice skating, and then you get cast for the BBC.
Ooh! My first big role.
Was this the start of the career, do you think?
I think so, because it gave me the buzz of wanting to work in media, I would say. And so then that sparked me off on this path of wanting to be on some kind of film set in front of some kind of camera, working with a crew, with people to create something and produce something, whether it's, I'd felt that a little bit when I'd done dance shows or ice skating shows, but to feel that when there's literally hundreds of you on a TV set, all with a different role, all with an important role, to make the end product, and often working a 13-14 hour day for just 7 minutes of footage and everything that went into that. And I just loved it. But I was a complete unknown. I didn't have an agent, and I'm working with all these people that were like in Coronation Street or Midsummer Murders. My mum and dad used to love that. And so it was like, it was amazing. And the older I get, the more I look back and I think, how did that happen?
Yeah.
Like, how did that happen? I'm glad it did. And so obviously I had a good bash at the acting thing and came really close to a lot of things. But ultimately it came down to the fact that there was too much I wasn't prepared to do. I'm like, oh no, I won't do that. Oh God, I'm not doing that. Oh, my mum might watch it. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm so done with pretending to be someone else. I just want to be myself. And that's when I was like, presenting.
Just be you.
Yeah. And so then I went to London and like did a presenting course and was running up to people on the street trying to, you know, practice my little interviewing techniques and probably scaring a few people in the process.
You must have some stories. I mean, you do dabble in them in the book.
I hope I don't get in trouble one day for the things that I've written. I've had people come up to me and be like, what's Daniel's real name? Because I want to break his legs at how he treated you.
And we've still got 2 more books to go.
I know.
Strap yourself in.
I have written, I would say, probably all of book 2 because
really?
I write it all by hand. So I started this in lockdown and I just kept writing. And it was only then as I started physically typing up the book, which I used as like the first draft, the first sort of edit process. And I was getting up to like 70,000 odd words, and I was like, well, that's a book. 70,000 odd words, like that's a book. And so I've still got everything that I've handwritten since then, which, looking at it, I think I've got enough content that will then create book 2. I've started typing up what I've written already, but I'm not yet sure how far along in my life it will go. I'm hoping, I mean, right now I've written up to 2016 and I'm hustling my way around Ibiza and Miami right now in 2016. And there's a really funny story about, which I'm going to put in book 2, where I managed to blag my way into an Ibiza radio station by pretending I had a meeting with someone that worked there.
Unreal.
They let me in as well. I don't speak Spanish. I was just like, hola. And someone, I'd like researched this place and I was like, I'd love to work on that station. And they were just so cool. And I managed to get several buses across the island to the middle of nowhere. It's very like desert-like. And I'm thinking, how am I going to get in? And some guy came out for a cigarette and I just like caught the door and just like tailgated my way in. I'd looked online to find the names of some of the directors and people that, you know, the people that run the managing directors, and just bowled in and was like, hola, you know, it's DJSoWright from the UK. I'm here for a meeting with Maria. And they were like, oh, okay, just let me check. I was like, yeah, sorry, I'm a bit late. Literally, like my flight, it was a bit delayed, but anyway, I'll wait. It's fine. Yeah, no, Maria, yeah, Sophie for Maria. Thank you. Yeah, and I'm just there like, I'm using up a lifetime supply of balls right now.
I love that from you. And what came of it? Did you get on the station?
Yeah. Oh my god. But then like this woman came out and she was like, hello, and I'm like, hola Maria, mwah, mwah. Sophie, so nice to meet you. Don't worry about not replying to the last email. I know you're really busy and stuff. And she was like, right, okay. So I said, anyway, I've got my demo with me as promised. So, and then as I was talking, one of them they were talking in Spanish like this, which is a bit rude really, isn't it? But damn it, I should know Spanish. And then they said, oh, you have a beautiful voice. And I'm like, really? Manchester? Really?
Manchester?
Okay. And they were like, have you got time? I was like, all the time in the world. And they were like, can you record some adverts for us? So they stuck me in a booth and I ended up like voicing loads of like adverts and jingles for them. They paid me for it. They were like, oh, send us an invoice, and then asked me to come back a week later. And I ended up being their, I guess, British voice of the station that year. So I'd do all the like jingles and stuff for the club nights that they were sponsoring. So it would be all like Ushuaia, Ibiza on bank holiday weekend. And so I ended up doing all of that, and that was literally just because I was ballsy. I just hope that, I feel like we can all do it, and we can all do what we're yearning to do and dreaming of doing. It's so much of it is just a case of having the nudge to do it, or even having someone in your life that gives you that much needed little elbow or hold you accountable. Like my mum always used to do that for me. She'd go, well, have you booked that flight yet, or have you sent that email?
And then when you do it, you actually find it wasn't that painful. It wasn't that scary.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's a lovely bit of advice for anyone listening. So the Nearly Girl, where's that title? Explain it to me. I think I do understand it. But
yeah, thank you, because I think a few people have said that, but once they've read it, they understand it more.
Yeah.
But just to sort of explain it further is, a lot of the things that I've done or tried, I feel I've come so close to so many things that could have taken me on a completely different path. And I feel like I've nearly made it, or nearly cracked it, or nearly nailed it, or nearly, nearly married the wrong person, nearly got the big Disney Channel job, nearly got the whatever it was. Like it was nearly, but not quite. And that's something that still kind of bugs me, because I'll be like, but what would have happened if?
What piece of advice would you give as someone who's so experienced in that field?
Book wise, and that is a very new world to me that I've like delved into. Now, I chose to go the self-publishing route because it was really important to me to have full creative control. So I've picked everything, like the cover designer that I worked with, I've remained in control. Whereas you've got to understand that if you do go down the actual publishing route, for a start, you need an agent to even talk to the publishers. A publisher won't talk to you if you've not got an agent, which I find really unfair. And then quite often they will make you rewrite it 2, maybe 3 times. They'll make you cut bits out, add bits in. And because that book was so personal to me, and it's literally my life story, but with characters, I thought I can't cut any chunks out of it because it happened. It was a part of my life. And I just think because it was such a personal project, I thought I almost don't want anyone else coming in saying, let's make it more like that. Let's get rid of that. Oh, that chapter, rubbish. I'm like, that meant a lot to me, that chapter. So I chose to do the self-publishing thing. Now, on one hand, you get much more royalties, take-home royalties when you are self-publishing. On the other hand, you're not selling as many because you haven't got a big publishing house behind you. So you do have to do it all yourself. I've sent it to people in America, and I've sent it to... I plant them in places. I've left them at airports. I've left them in Waterstones in Manchester. I'm like, just
read this.
Yeah, read this instead. So if you're self-publishing, you've got to be proactive. And one thing I learned is no one else is going to write your book. So like when I'm putting off writing or picking up the pen, or I don't feel like it today, or it's too noisy, they're drilling outside, I can't possibly write. It's like, Sophie, stop with the excuses. If you don't pick up that pen, no one else will. So, it did take me a while. And I even sat on it for almost a year because I lost confidence. And I thought, oh, it's no good. I can't publish it. No one's going to read it. Is it too soul bearing? I'm scared. And nearly a year. It sat there ready. But it's scary, but you've got to do it. And if you end up going the publishing house route and you can get an agent, amazing. The difference with that is they might say, here's a £10,000 advance. You now have to write 2 more books, and they have to be as good, if not better. Or I want 50 pages by Friday. Where are they?
You must take that enjoyment out of it.
A lot of pressure. So, I guess you pick your poison, and there's pros and cons for both. Same with anything, books, music, any project. It's just taking that leap of actually putting your work out there.
A little bit I loved in it is when, as a fellow sneaker girl, you said you'd had your first salary. I think you were like 16 or something, your first salary, and you took your £100 to shop and got your night shocks. I was like, go on, girl.
I remember just like spilling all my wages onto the countertop, and it was all like in like pound coins and then a few fivers because I was working on a farm. And interestingly, my former farmer boss from the farm has read it, and he messaged me on Facebook and was like, oh my gosh, so I'm loving your book. He said, I feel really bad for paying you so little now. And I was like, don't feel bad. Like, no one else would employ me under 16. No, $2.55 an hour. I was balling. Exactly. It got me like shocks, didn't it?
Have you still got them?
No. And do you know what?
Sophie, cool memory.
I wish I did, because they're back now.
They are. They're back in.
They're back.
I know.
Everything's coming back.
I know.
I'm like, I'm loving it.
But do you go into like do you have like an alter ego? Like, do you have when you DJ, and is it like you become someone else in a sense?
I'm just Sophie, but extra giddy. Especially those gigs where you give me creative freedom. I so appreciate that. That's why I love the Porsche Preston gig for the 75-year anniversary. Like, that stage you guys built
it was cool, wasn't
amazing.
it? Yeah.
I was like, I love this. And yeah, you literally just like a little wind up toy like set me off running like.
I remember you walking in, you had Maxie little mini dress, and I was like, oh my god, it's infectious. Like you come with this like vibe, but it must be. Is it not hard? Like on days when you just think, oh, I can't be arsed today, to get yourself on that level to be able to bring that, because essentially you're bringing the vibe for the whole event.
Yes,
you're dominating that environment.
Yeah, I mean that gig that I did for Porsche was actually, I hope you don't mind me saying, just to like be a bit sad for a minute. I just found out that my mum had 3 brain tumours like the week before, and that was my first gig since finding that out. And at first I was thinking, how am I going to do this now that I know that my mum is now in this situation? But then, because I love the jobs that I do, and whether it's presenting, DJing or writing or at the racetrack as a grid girl, it really helped me to be in that environment. Because when I'm at work, it might not be healthy in the long run, but I can completely compartmentalize. Like, it helped show me that I could still work despite what I was going through with my family life. One thing it's really taught me as well in this whole like grieving process is it's made me not take any crap. I call it the could you justs. So when someone's asking too much of you or more than they should, more than what's lined out in we want you to do this, and you fulfill that, but then they want, oh, and would you mind just doing that and just taking that there, and they start adding on what, you know,
taking the mickey.
And now since losing my mum, I'm like, no, nuh-uh. And it's almost like I can hear my mum saying, don't you let them do that to you, Sophie. And I'm like, you know, no mug written across my forehead. I'm like, okay, all right. So yeah, it definitely changes you as a person. Hopefully, I'm not meaning to sound like I'm a nightmare or I'm cold-hearted, but it's made me more protective of myself.
I can't,
for sure.
Yeah, I can't even comprehend, but yeah, you know, send my love to you, and you're doing a fantastic job every single day.
Because I'm still finding joy in the things that I love to do.
Yeah. And one of those things is, of course,
cars. Petrol head. Oh my gosh.
We bonded over a good car, didn't we?
Yeah. Oh, that peppermint Targa was just
I know.
beautiful.
She's cute, isn't she?
Is it still there, or has it been sold?
The owner still has it. She doesn't live too far from the centre, but she was in Miami, and she was walking past a garage, and she saw this mint green Porsche, and she was like, oh, go on, I'll have a bit of that. So she came to spec a Targa.
Oh,
and
wow. I'd love to drive that car along Pacific Coast Highway in LA.
Roof down.
With the roof down in all my minty green glory, and just blasting a bit of, oh gosh, I don't know. What's funny is no one in my family is into cars.
Really? Well, same, to be honest.
Yeah. We've just come from Planet Car.
Yeah, we have. If you were going to do it, if you were going to spec your dream Porsche, you'd go bold, wouldn't you?
I would. In fact, after I've done the whole like black on black theme that I've currently got with mine.
With the Pedro.
Yeah, Pedro, the Porsche. He's my child, my husband, and my mortgage. But yeah, I would go definitely bright. But I can't ever imagine being without my car now. Like, it is literally, he's like my whole little social life. He's like, it was either that or a mortgage, to be honest.
It just cracked me up, this girl rocking up in a 2-seater Cayman with a flipping DJ decks on the seat.
Like
practical.
into the footwell, like, make it practical, hon, you know.
No, I rate it. I love it.
And for me, because I am, you know, I don't have babies, boyfriends or pets.
Yeah,
it's just car. Me, myself and I. And so it fits my suitcase in the front. It fits my big weekly Aldi shop. It really, for me, does everything. Just no one else can get involved.
What was the first car?
My first car was, I actually shared my mum's cars for 11 years.
Okay.
So I passed my test when I was 17. First time. I'd been practicing on a simulator for a year beforehand at BSM. I was so obsessed with wanting to drive and get behind the wheel. So after I passed, I started sharing my mum's blue Ford KA called Mary the KA. And Mary was a great car. Mum let me decorate it with pink accessories as it says in the book, I was going through my pink phase of let's have Hello Kitty and Babe on Board and fluffy steering wheel, and I wanted to look like the pink dice girl. And so she let me do that to a car, which is really, really good. And then it was when I was on the radio and I was in like my second kind of proper big girl radio contract. I was like, do you know what? I'm gonna treat myself. Like, so I went to BMW first, because I am a BMW girl as well in terms of like the racing and the team that I work with. But at that point, I wasn't. I just had always really rated Beamers and did the whole kind of white 2 Series Sport coupe thing.
Yeah.
And he was called Billy the Beamer. Billy the Beamer.
Do you know what? I've never named my car. A lot of people do, and it's like I can't.
Oh, I love naming my car because it gives them a little personality.
I think it's like, what would be the dream car?
Yeah.
Any car in the world, endless budget, have what you want.
I have like a dream car garage in my head.
Hit me.
So for when it's rainy, snowy, icy, I want a Brabus G-Wagon.
Okay.
Absolute hunking great big, like gutsy, does about 1 mile to the gallon thing. In kind of like a stealth matte black PPF probably.
There was a little petite gal behind the wheel.
And then just me jumping out like, hello. Then I always joked and said if I ever left Porsche it would be for a Ferrari. But I am getting quite enamoured by like Lamborghini STO at the moment. But I do love a 458 Speciale in white with actually gold wheels. Now I know that sounds a bit like but I've seen this spec on quite a lot of the Speciales and it's almost like a subtle gold. It's not like a garish gold wheel. And then with the white, and then they have the little Italian flag colour accents, and I just thought that just looks so Italian and so Ferrari. I would love that. Love McLarens, but it would have to be a 765 LT, the most expensive one. Obs. And I'm apart from
that, I'm not forced.
No, apart from having the G-Wagon for practicality reasons, I only ever want a sports car or a supercar now after having my Cayman and feeling that mid-engine feel and the way it handles and the weight distribution. I can't imagine driving anything else. Like quite often I'll hire a hire car to drive really far to Brands Hatch if it's for work. And I'm racking up so much mileage on Pedro and I'm thinking all these boring motorway miles. I tell you what, I'll just go to Enterprise and be like, oh, can I just hire a car? So sometimes I'm in like a proper school teacher car. The worst one I think I've had is like a Hyundai Ioniq or something.
Mine was my first car was a Peugeot 107, little white one. Classic. Oh my god, I loved it. It was like a little Dodge.
Little go-kart.
I remember saying to my mum, like, Mum, I do not want a black box. I want to drive this thing. And I was like, girl, you're driving around in a 1 litre manual. Chill out.
Yeah, good for you. They're great though, those little cars.
Oh, they are. You can't. Honestly, nothing ever went wrong with it. It was like a little cockroach. Like you just couldn't kill it.
A cockroach.
We're both very spoiled with the communities we mix within the car world, and you get around. You get to Goodwood.
I know.
Touring cars all the time.
Yeah.
How did you get into all this?
So I started grid girling probably like twice a year at smaller endurance championships in like 2012. I was lucky enough to fill in for a grid girl. She was on holiday. I was covering her position for one of the teams in touring cars in Knockhill back in, I think this was like 2012. And so I covered for her and I was like, this is amazing. I'm access all areas at a racetrack, getting paid for it. I get to be up close and personal with the cars, stand there, smile, have my picture taken and get paid for it. This is great. I want to do more of this. It did take me a while to get on with BMW, I think, because they are quite a closed shop. I started doing a lot of hospitality jobs for them, working in like the hospitality marquees, like serving up the food and stuff, and which I didn't like. It got my face known around the paddock. And then ultimately, then when they were looking to change the grid girls on this particular team, a lady that had booked me for hospitality work, she knew that I wanted to be a grid girl, and I was so grateful when she said, "Oh, will you send us some pictures and a bit of a, bit of a covering letter, and I'll put you forward and see if you have the right look for," because you're advertising really as a grid girl, you're representing the brand and the sponsors. So kind of think air hostess always got to look quite polished, presentable, smiley. That's the look that they go for now. It's not like it was in the 90s with all the lycra hot pants, and although in the past I have done lycra hot pants.
You can't have not been a good girl and done your lycra hot pants.
I had black and white flag checkered hot pants one year at Auto Sports International in Birmingham.
Couldn't miss her.
I know, but I loved it.
Yeah.
I don't get to wear hot pants going to
hell yeah, go for
Tesco.
Give it
so
large.
it's like, woo. So yeah, it did take me a while to get into it. Yeah. And the cool thing is as well about the way BMW do it is they have us wearing the merchandise that you can go and buy on the merchandise stand. So when people are like, "Oh, I love your little bomber jacket," I'm like, "Oh, thanks, you can buy it at the stand." Or, we're in like black skinny jeans, nice branded t-shirt, bomber jacket. It's very wearable, athleisure kind of vibes. And so it promotes the merchandise as well, really. So I think it makes sense as a advertising opportunity for the teams and for the brands. So I really hope that they don't phase us out.
Do you have a favourite track?
Ooh, obviously Alton Park is my local track, and that's where I passed my race license test.
Oh, okay.
So I feel like I know Alton well because I've done the most laps around it. But then I've also driven around Donington and friggin' love Craner Curves, this part of the track that literally feels like a Big Dipper.
I've not been at Donington.
Oh, it's great. That was in an M5 competition that I did that in as well. And they're dangerously fast actually at M5, aren't they? It's like, don't underestimate an M5 at a red light, guys. Just let them go. But then obviously it was at Brands Hatch for the Porsche Festival a couple of weeks ago.
You presenting, weren't you?
Yeah, so I was DJing and presenting. So it was quite fun to be like 1 minute I'm mixing, the next minute I'm holding one of these and chatting to Adam Smalley or whatever racing drivers would come along. So I'm quite fond of Brands Hatch as a circuit as well, although it's an absolute mission for me to get to. It's a shame that British Touring Cars doesn't take me internationally, but that would be a definite goal for me in future to maybe be working at an international racetrack, whether that's as in a grid girl capacity or like, I'd love to be a monster girl.
Oh, that'd be cool, wouldn't
Before I get all old and decrepit, I would love to
gotta do it.
Just be a monster girl just once and wear the cute little monster pendant and do a load of sit-ups if I have to wear a crop top and
like get your contouring out.
Six pack, draw it on. I would love to do that. I really would.
Have you not been, correct me if I'm wrong, have you worked within F1 before?
So I haven't. I suppose I have worked at the F1. I was lucky enough to work at the Monaco Grand Prix.
I think that's what I saw on
a yacht for a day.
It looked unbelievable.
Now that was hosted. I was running a silent auction for charity on a yacht amongst the guests on board. So I'm running around like, "Hi guys, ta-da, don't you want to bid on this?" kind of thing, while the cars were like whizzing round.
That is crazy.
So I've done a bit of presenting for that company, and they had me do the same at the Silverstone Grand Prix as well. So those are two F1 experiences that I've had this year that I'm so grateful for, because they were both a first for me. And certainly like to work on a yacht. I was just there for a day. I nearly missed my flight. I didn't want to get off the boat.
I'm not surprised.
I literally my work had done, the auction had closed, and I was like,
clinging onto the deck like,
they were like, "Should we call the tender?" They have these little tender boats come and pick you up from the yacht and then sail you back to land. And I was like, well, my flight's in like 2 hours, so I guess I should. They were like, "So you need to leave the boat because you're going to miss your flight." I just about made my flight, but only because it was delayed.
No, it's always near my birthday, and I'm always like, all I want to do for my birthday is go to Monaco.
I know.
Except it's not that easy and not that cheap.
Well, honestly, like, the organisation of it, and certain passes would allow you down certain streets but not others.
Really?
And it was such a well-oiled machine. Like, I was amazed. I was so impressed, the sheer amount of staff and security, metal detectors you're walking through. It was so slick. Like, yeah, but you'd absolutely love it.
Have you ever had a racing driver boyfriend?
I've had a ex-superbike rider boyfriend.
Superbike, that is a whole other ball game.
And they are not everyone, but they are slightly tapped in the head.
I think, do you know what though? You watch the cars, then you watch the bikes.
Yeah.
It is frightening.
They're like cheating death
I feel like you have to be a little bit tapped in the head to do that job.
I know.
It is frightening, but yeah, I take my hats off to
I
them.
love watching superbikes as well. Like, it can be, for me, a lot more exciting than watching the F1, just because you've got so many more passing opportunities.
Yeah.
It's like chopping and changing a bit more, I would say, than just Verstappen winning everything. But yeah, I do find like I've dated DJs, and I don't know, I just find dating hard, to be honest, because especially what I do, it's also random. So if you're talking to someone, I don't really use apps anymore, but it's hard, that initial conversation. They're like, "Wait, so what do you do? What is it you're doing this weekend? Oh, I'm off at the weekend. Do you want to hang out? Oh no, sorry, I'm at a racetrack. Or I'm off to Ireland." Or I'm like,
it is quite an antisocial job, isn't it? I suppose. Well, it's not. It's so social because you're always around everyone.
Meet lots of people,
but personally, it must be difficult.
Yeah, I do find that hard, but then I'm just really happy, like, being free to go where I want, when I want, and I don't have anyone to explain myself to. Like, I love that. Like, this week I'm dressing up as Batgirl and I'm going to Dublin to DJ at the Cannonball.
Just cause.
So I've got a Supergirl and a Batgirl costume.
Have you not decided?
I'm going to pack them both, I think.
Well, then Batgirl suit Pedro.
You're right.
You must have so many stories that we could sit here and discuss all day. But as a female in the automotive industry, what piece of advice would you give to a budding young female who wants to get involved?
I've seen it more in recent years in touring cars. We have got some awesome female mechanics. They're just amazing. So I would say just do you, but really, really know your stuff, because I do feel we maybe have to work a little bit harder. So as long as you're always going the extra mile and can hold your own in a male-dominated environment, and, you know, and guys are great. I'm not slagging off guys at all. I love kind of being one of the lads in a way, because I guess maybe I'm a bit of a tomboy, and so I feel really at home in that environment, and I'm really lucky that all the guys that I work with and have worked with have just been awesome. So I think as long as you can put your differences aside and really know your stuff, you've got nothing to worry about.
I agree. I think there's always going to be someone in the room who knows more than you, but you've got to have confidence in yourself. Yeah. And just take it all in. And if you don't know, you don't pretend to know, because there will be someone who corrects you. You've just got to be confident, have confidence in yourself. And if you enjoy doing it, don't be afraid to do it. Just like we said before, just give it a go and see what happens.
Give it a whirl and see. So who knows where we'll end up next, or what we'll end up doing next. Never know.
What's on the bucket list? What's what you're hoping to achieve in the coming years?
So I definitely want to, as I get older, I should say, and maybe as I get more deaf, I would like to be doing more presenter gigs than DJ gigs. I think I love any gigs and I'm happy for any gigs, but if I could be averaging more presenting ones than DJing ones, I think that'd be great. And then in terms of the book, I really do want to obviously get book 2 out and then start writing book 3, because I'm adamant it's going to be a trilogy. I've said on record in multiple places it's the first of a trilogy.
It has to be.
I've got to get that 3rd book out within the next few years, and so I really want to like follow that through. And then in my like big dreams, I just want Netflix to ring me and be like, Soph, your life is weird and crazy, we're gonna make it into a series, and can you help us cast it? I'm like, yeah,
absolutely.
That would be like my ultimate goal. And then like countries and stuff, I would love to live in America at some point, because that would just stretch me again and open my eyes again, because we can get a bit comfy where we are.
Yeah.
No great things grow in comfort zones.
They do not,
My
Sophie.
favourite saying.
And if anyone who doesn't follow Sophie, I suggest you do, because your career is just blossoming at the moment.
Oh, thank you.
And I wish you all the best. And thank you so much for coming today.
It's been amazing. Jess, thank you. And thank you to our lovely Yellow Room.
Thanks, Yellow Room.